picture the scene. You're 16, you've just finished your GCSEs, and to celebrate, you're going into the city, to the big HMV, because your favourite band, Deftones, have got a new album out. People definitely see and hear you coming because of your wallet chains clinking together, your pants trailing along the floor that are wide enough to fit 3 people in each leg. This was very much my aesthetic growing up, so join me in this video while I recreate a Y2K Nu Metal look that wouldn't be out of place in 16-year-old me's wardrobe. I've seen so much Y2K stuff going around recently, and it's brought some nostalgia. Although a lot of the stuff that I've seen doing the rounds has been kind of trendy. Not really my experience growing up. I wasn't really one of the low-rise boot-cut jeans people. In fact, those people generally didn't like me and thought I was a freak. So I thought I would do a video for the freaks. My teenage years were in the heart of nu metal. So we had bands like Deftones, System of a Down, Korn, Not You. And I was so lucky to get to go to Leeds Festival 2000 and see so many awesome bands. One of my big memories from that is my mum telling me to be good, not to drink, not to do drugs, anything like that. And my dad saying, make sure you crowd surf when Foo Fighters play Monkey Wrench. I think I'll always have a soft spot for that period of time. Yes, I was a teenager growing up, and as a lot of teenagers who were different, I got bullied and all that kind of stuff. But the music and stuff got me through it, which made me so happy when I discovered that young people today have discovered nu metal. A lot of those bands got me through that period of time, and it is so awesome that new people are discovering this music. I also didn't realise until very recently that a lot of the bands that I love are still doing music now. The plan is we are going to do a hoodie, and my hoodie back in them days was actually kind of different to what they look like now. I don't know if it was a thing to do with the shop where I got mine from. Quiggins was awesome, wish it was still around. Or whether that was the style of the times. But yeah, a little bit different, but I'll get into that. I am also going to be, of course, making some incredibly baggy cargo pants. These things need to have pockets for days, and they need to be really wide. So this video isn't super long. I am going to put a separate video on my Ko-fi page for free, just of patterning the pants. I have got all my fabrics ready. I have also ordered some like printer paper that prints onto fabric. Should be good for creating the graphic on the hoodie. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Okay, so this is the fabric that I'm going to be using for the pants. The colour doesn't show up great on camera for some reason, but it's like a sort of like khaki green, like olive green, that kind of colour. It's actually exactly the same as a pair of pants that I had when I was 16. I got from Leeds to go to Leeds Festival in. I'm using a twill, although it was advertised as a medium weight, but I think it's a little bit lighter weight than I would have liked, but it will still work. For those of you not watching the supplementary patterning video, I'm starting off with my shorts block pattern. I know the back definitely doesn't look like your commercial pattern. I've said it in previous videos, I'll say it again because I think it's important. Your pattern does not need to look like a commercial pattern because everybody's bodies are different. For me, I carry a lot of weight in my behind. Therefore, I need a lot more fabric in this area so that I'm not eating fabric, if you know what I mean. So yeah, pattern wise, it's just taken from these, lengthened, widened considerably, and then I've also cut them in half along the knee and down the front and the back in the middle, that we will get some nice stitching lines. So time to cut out the pattern. Okay, everything is cut out. One change that I did make from the pattern was for the waistband, I decided to double it up rather than doing two separate pieces and then having a seam along the top. I don't know why. I think just with the elastic and stuff in the top, I just think it'll look a bit better and not as bulky having all those seams there. One nice thing about this is I do not have to spend ages and ages serging every single piece, because this is going to be done with flat felled seams. So I have actually got an example of a flat felled seam, if you don't know what it is, on the pants that I'm wearing now. That right there is a flat felled seam, and it is the sort of thing that you will find on most jeans and cargo pants. So that's my plan for this. It's going to have lots of top stitching. I'm using like a beige colour thread so that it's not going to be like super contrast, but it will show up. Plus, that was the colour of the thread that was on my pants when I was 16. So, plan of action. These pants are currently in multiple different pieces. So I am going to attach the front pieces and the back pieces so that I've got those pieces in full, and I'll do a flat felled seam to join them, and then I'll do the tops and the bottoms. Hopefully that'll make more sense once I'm actually doing it. Okay, so this is what I mean. I have got a front outer bottom piece here and a front inner bottom piece. These two need to be joined together, and then that will give me a whole bottom front piece. The same will be done with the back. So here we've got back bottom outer and back bottom inner. These will be joined together like so, and then I will have a whole bottom back piece. This is the top. It's a bit wide. Hopefully that fits in there. This is the top back piece, so that's going to go together in the same way as the others. What's going to change is with the front top piece. For that we have a front inner and a front outer for the top bit, but I'm having a pocket, and that pocket is going here. So when I join these two pieces together, I also need to remember to include this seam as well, so that this is attached, and this wants to be folded under at the same time. For the flat felled seams, I stitched my pieces wrong side together with the seams on the right side. I cut away the inner seam to around half the size and then folded the outer bit underneath. This was then top stitched down with 2 rows of stitching. Right, so we have our top stitching done. So what we need to do now is attach our tops to our bottoms. The other thing that I need to do on the top sections of the front panels is finish off the bottom of this pocket area. So that'll just be a case of folding it under and then top stitching it along there. Something that I hadn't thought about, which I really should have, was how I was going to finish this pocket opening. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is make myself a quick facing, and then I can sew that to that, flip it to the inside, top stitch along there. That shouldn't take too long, and I do have some spare fabric. So once those things are done, I will have the equivalent pieces of a regular pair of pants. So 2 front pieces, 2 back pieces, and they'll just need to be stitched along the sides, front, back and inseam like a regular pair of pants. Okay, so yesterday I finished the fronts and backs. Today what I need to do is attach them both together from the side. The reason why I am choosing to do the sides first is because I need to be able to put the pockets in this area here, and I need to have this top stitching all done first. It's also going to be a lot easier to do those pockets on a big flat area. This is the pattern I have for the pockets. So it's one big bit like that and then a little flap that goes over it. I have also got some pockets for the back as well. I'm going to have to do a little bit of experimenting before I put this on properly to work out angles and stuff like that, because what I don't want is for it to end up being on an angle like that or like that. I want it to actually properly be straight. It's all reasonably simple from here though, lots more top stitching. If I don't top stitch another thing in a very long time, it will be a great day. But I am loving seeing all this now because this is bringing back so many memories, especially seeing it in this colour. I know I did a lot of top stitching like this when I did the 90s mall goth bands, but there's something about it being in this colour and stuff just reminds me of like Leeds Festival. I clipped the corners and turned my pocket flaps the right way round. I then pressed the edges in on my pockets. I top stitched along the top hem of the pocket and then stitched it in place. I now have 2 completed sides. These need to be stitched together along the front and back in the crotch area, and then along the legs on the inside. Then it just needs waistband and hemming and they're done. They're a little bit messy in places, I'm not gonna lie. But I think that's okay. There's some little patching work that I can do to just fix those little areas. That was on me. I need to alter this pattern to give myself a bit more seam allowance. It's just bits where things fold over on the felled seams. I didn't give myself quite enough seam allowance and some bits have kind of popped out. But anyway, yeah. The finish line is in sight for these, then once these are done I can move on to the hoodie. This is how much top stitching thread I had left.
I just wanted to explain what the plan for the waistband was. I've done the actual pants now. One thing is I didn't have enough top stitching thread to do the inseam, but I was still able to do a flat felled seam on it just using some cotton, just regular cotton in the same colour. One advantage to these very, very, very baggy pants is most of the time you will have either the inside or the outside of the pants, usually the inside with jeans, that have got a flat felled seam, because there's no way to actually get the whole thing under, like the sewing machine, to do the whole thing, because there's just not enough room. But these pants are so baggy that there was more than enough room to fit the whole thing in. Anyway, waistband. My plan for the waistband is it's gonna fold over. I've got 1/2 inch seam allowance for attaching it to the pants, and then I'm going to run a channel along the bottom that's going to have elastic in, a channel along the top that's going to have elastic in, and then the channel in the middle is going to have a drawstring. In order for the drawstring to have somewhere to poke out, put a couple of eyelets in. I would do hand done eyelets, but in all honesty, I'm crap at them, and I've got loads of these, so this is the best option, I think, in order for it to look good. So I'm going to poke some holes in here with an awl, and then use my eyelet press to put these in. The handle broke on my awl. I really need to get a new one. Okay, so pants are finished. I love the way they look. I cannot wait to be able to show you them. I am now onto the hoodie. Fabric wise, I have gone for a black sweatshirt type fabric for the main thing, and then I have got some blue to line the hood. My original hoodie, it was a Nirvana hoodie, it had like the smiley face on the back from Nevermind. It also had a lined hood like that, and I really liked that. It was really cozy. There are a couple of things about it that weren't like other hoodies though, and I'm not entirely sure if it was that it was a knockoff thing that they sold in one of the shops in Quiggins, or that it was official merch and that was just the way it was. Because hoodies that you see around now will have elasticated wrists and elasticated around the bottom, which personally I hate, because I find that it makes the hoodie rise up at the back. It takes the path of least resistance. And this hoodie that I had when I was a teenager, it didn't really do that, and I think it was because it wasn't elasticated. Let me know in the comments if in the early 2000s you saw hoodies that were like not elasticated in any way. Like they were exactly the same shape as a regular hoodie, but just with no elastic. They were just hemmed, and also with that lined hood in a different colour. Anyway, pattern wise, I have used a hoodie pattern that I got from Mood. I will leave a link to that in the description. And what I've done is just, this one was like a hoodie dress, so I've given myself some extra on the front and split it down the front, because this one was all one piece at the front and I want mine to have a zip. The specific pattern that I used is way too small for me, because it was one that I was using to make somebody else a hoodie, so I just extended it a bit on the bust and just made it completely straight rather than having any kind of curviness to it, because the original hoodie that I had as a teenager also was just straight. It didn't have any kind of shaping to it. I made a mock-up. It fit around the top, but there wasn't quite enough hip room. So I have just extended that. I have also extended the bottom a bit, just because I noticed that it was on a bit of a slant. Again, because it's got to get over my butt. So yeah, I've just added a little bit and just extended, and that should be fine. One thing I'm debating is the hood. I do like an oversized hood. This one is quite big. I'm wondering if maybe it's a bit too big. I might reduce the size of it by like maybe an inch all round, and I think that should be okay. When I tried it on the mock-up, it came down to like here on me. I do have an incredibly small head. But I do still want it to be quite oversized because I do like that look. So I'll just reduce it a bit. But yeah, I think we're ready. There's a weird thing with the hoodie fabric that I got. It's a tube. It came as a tube. I'm not entirely sure why. I can honestly say I have never had fabric come in a tube before. It's going to make it easy for cutting, I suppose, because it's definitely going to be on grain and symmetrical all the way down. I'm not going to have that problem that you often get where when you've ordered the fabric it's been cut slightly off and it doesn't quite match up perfectly. When you fold it in half, you end up with one long bit and one shorter bit. That's not going to happen with this. But yeah, I just thought that was very odd. I've never had that happen before. Anyway, let's start cutting out this hoodie. Right, this fabric doesn't fray, but I have opted to overlock all my edges anyway, just because I am planning on getting a lot of wear out of this, so it's going to go into the wash like all the time. The other decision that I've made is I do plan on doing a graphic on the back. Although it would be easier to do it at this stage while it's all separate and the back is in a nice manageable piece, I do kind of want to wait until I've got like the hood attached and stuff so that I can work out how low down to put it so that it will be like somewhat visible with the hood down, just because I feel like I put some effort into the thing that I did and I want people to be able to see it. Oh, my hairband keeps... Does anybody else have this problem? When you wear one of those hairbands that's like a continuous loop of fabric and it just gradually moves down. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's to do with the shape of my head or what, but yeah, I couldn't find my one that just stops at the ears. Anyway, next step for me is to assemble this. It should be reasonably easy. It's just shoulders, attach the sleeves because I find that the easiest way to do it, then sew down the sleeve and then the side seam, and then attaching the hood. I've given myself some extra length in the sleeves purely because I do like it, especially in autumn and winter, where I can just kind of hide my hands up inside the sleeves. So I'm not entirely sure how much extra I need for that. So I've given myself an extra inch, and I think they were already a reasonable length, so we'll see. So I'm going to get to stitching up all those pieces, and then I will get back to you when I'm doing the hood. Okay, so the main body of the hoodie is done and it's now onto the hoods. So, as you can see, I've got my lining in the blue and my outer layer in the black. What I need to do is stitch, well, obviously inside out, stitch along here on both of these. Then this one is going to go inside this one. After stitching the outer side of each hood piece together, I attached the blue and black sides right sides together along the front. This was then flipped right side out and stitched 1 inch along the front. I attached the zip, then stitched just the outside part of the hood to the hoodie, leaving the lining free. I'm sorry, but can we just take a brief moment to appreciate this bobbin chicken? That is literally all that was left. Okay, please excuse my sopping wet hair. I have just had a shower and it's 1,000,000,000 degrees today for some reason, and there's no way I'm using a hairdryer. I have enough trouble as it is regulating my body temperature, plus I'm going to be using an iron, so I'd just be like... Right, the hoodie is basically done. The only thing sewing wise that I need to do is hand sew the blue hood lining to the neckline, and I'm probably going to chill later tonight and do that. The thing that we're going to do now is image transfers. I did do a poll on both my community tab and on Instagram. The Instagram one was pretty cut and shut. It was band that you wish you could have had merch for when you were a teenager. Now, the community tab has been a little bit like that. It's been very, very close between band you wish you could have had merch for and original design. So what I'm going to do is a sort of combination between the two. So I'm going to do a design for a band that I wish I'd had merch for, but it's going to be a different image to any existing merch that is available. With that in mind, I am going to do my favourite band in the entire world, Dir Grey. They are a Japanese sort of avant-garde metal band. They're so good. I first discovered them in the early 2000s, where I managed to get hold of some music videos for them from Napster. And it was back in the Visual Kai era, which there were some things, but Dir Grey did kind of evolve out of that. The music evolved as well. It got a lot heavier. Kyo started experimenting with his vocals a lot more, and I watched a video of like a vocal coach analysing like Kyo's singing, and she was just like, okay, I've never heard that before. It's amazing. It's amazing. If you do decide to go hunting for Diru videos, there is going to be a little bit of content warning. Especially their earlier stuff when they were being edgy. A lot of the stuff is very, very, very... yeah. But they are an awesome band, and I got to see them live just before the pandemic, which was just mind-blowing. I was so happy that I finally got to see them. I will insert some pictures here. They're not very good, but I'm not going to be one of those people at a gig who is just constantly like in people's faces taking pictures. That is what venue photographers are there for. They're being paid for that job, and it's not for me to be getting in their business. The design that I have decided to go for is this. What I have done to be able to print it in a larger size than A4 is I've split the image in two. So fingers crossed the line isn't going to be too noticeable. This is the product that I'm using. I got it from Amazon. I will put a link to it in the description. Basically, you print out your image, iron the front of the fabric to kind of warm it up, peel off the backing, stick the image down. You get a little bit of silicone paper, you put that over the top, and then you iron it for 2 minutes. I have used a product like this before when I made some masks and stuff like that back at the beginning of the times. This is a different brand, so I'm not 100% sure how it's going to behave, so I'm going to do a test. And to do that test, I printed out a little mini-me. This is my new design, which you should, if I have managed to get things finished in time, have seen at the beginning of this video, and you will see at the reveal as well. I am so glad that I printed this out, because if it wasn't for me printing this out, then I wouldn't have realised that my cyan ink was blocked. So I was able to fix that and then get a print of my actual design. But I am still going to use this to do a little test, just to see how it behaves, make sure it's not going to be weird in any way. Right, I have ironed this just to warm it up, and I have peeled this off its backing. It wasn't too bad, so I'm just going to stick her there. Put the silicone paper over and just press down on that. I'm not going to make you watch me do it for the full 2 minutes. Okay, that's on pretty good. I feel like once it's cooled down it will be even better because it's still quite whew. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think, yeah, one thing that I've learnt is that the black border is quite visible, so I'm gonna have to be really strategic with how I cut out the actual design so that it looks like it's a purposeful border rather than just janky lines. But yeah, I'm happy with that. So onto the actual fabric, I think. Right, this bit I've kind of freehanded. This bit though, I am going to be as exact as I possibly can be because it needs to match up with this side. Now I'm just going to see how well this is going to match up. Okay, so unfortunately we're going to have a couple of little gaps. Sometimes Photoshop doesn't work for you. I don't want there to be a big overlap, so what I'm thinking I'm going to do is get a pencil and just draw around that line. That's just going to have to be a little gap, there's nothing I can do about that. Right, I've marked on the hoodie in pins where the design is going to go, and I've just ironed it. Now it's time to place them. I think the trick, especially with something so big, is I don't want to distort the image in any way because it's kind of plasticky. just because it's taking me a while to actually peel these off, I'm going to peel the other one off and then re-iron this to get it nice and warm again. Okay, what I decided to do, because the line going down there was really, really obvious, so I've put some more lines in. That way it should look like it's kind of cracked, and it's supposed to look like that. So I've also painstakingly tried to make sure that this is even. Hopefully it is. But time to actually iron this thing on. 3, 2, 1. I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. The cracks are very obvious. That is absolutely fine. What I might do, depending on if I can mix up the right colour of fabric paint, but this will be for a later date, I might just draw inside these cracks and like make them more obvious. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. So with this being the final bit, and like I say, I will sew the inside of the hood down by hand, probably while I'm chilling watching telly tonight. So it is time for the reveal.
All I ever wanted was you, but you left me alone inside these empty, broken walls. And I can't see it clearly, but it's obvious. I know that you left me alone inside this empty, broken hall. And now you'll be the reason why my soul is tainted. Somebody help me, 'cause I'm feeling trapped and I don't know what to do. There's no one to save me from this hurt I feel deep within my bones. Did you ever think of me and see the things I did? Sold my soul and everything I was to the lowest bid. Crawled into your poison dome, yet every single time you got into my mind, you got into my mind.
It is once again 1,000,000,000 degrees in this flat. I've got no idea what's going on. The sun hasn't even come all the way round to the main window yet, but yeah, I'm dying. Anyway, though, I am so pleased with how this project turned out. I have got some solid items of clothing now that I can wear day to day. Yes, I might get some looks for how baggy the pants are, and people who are like millennials might recognise them and think that is a throwback. But you know what? I love them. I don't care. I think they're great. Also, for this video, I decided to do the old nail glue trick to give myself an eyebrow piercing, because I had an eyebrow piercing throughout the early 2000s. It was done by somebody who wasn't very good. He got a bit of a reputation for being not good. So it was done with a straight bar and it ended up growing out. Seeing this makes me really tempted to get my eyebrow done again. The guy who has done other piercings of mine is really good. There'd be like a 50-50 chance of it like surviving. But then on the other hand, I know that it is in a place that's in danger of getting constantly knocked. Anyway, I digress. This project has been really, really successful, I think. There are a few little things, as always, like, for example, some of the stitching on the pants is a little bit messy. I have also got a little bit of the problem of my butt eating fabric, which the pattern that I used, I made, I think it was about a year ago, something like that. And I have put on a little bit of weight since I made that pattern. That is a note to me that I possibly need to remake that pattern and give myself a little bit of extra room. I think also doing the flat felled seams ended up eating up a bit more fabric than I would have liked, purely because I didn't give myself enough extra seam allowance to fold under. So I ended up using a little bit of the fabric that was meant for accommodating me to do that little bit of foldy over seam allowance and make it look neat. Because the areas where I did use the just normal amount of seam allowance that I would usually use, there wasn't quite enough in some places to fold under. The other thing is with the hoodie, there is a very, very, very clear border around. That's why I did the little cut out bits, because you could just see it so much, and I thought I'll try and make it look like it's intentional. I'm not 100% on it, and I'm wondering if there's something that I could possibly do with paint, maybe, to kind of, maybe like a natural sponge with like all the holes in it, and kind of stipple around the edges and make it look like it's kind of dissolving in. I'm just not too sure what paint I should use to do that, because fabric paint would work well for the actual hoodie fabric, but I'm not sure how well it would do with going over the kind of like plasticiness of the transfer. There is also the issue that fabric paint tends to need to be ironed to set it, and it specifically says like don't re-iron over that because it will make it go funny. You're not even supposed to tumble dry an item of clothing that's got this stuff on it. So I'm not sure. Suggestions would be very, very much welcome in the comments, because I don't know. That's the other thing I was thinking was just acrylic, but then there is the issue of that coming out in the wash potentially. I'm not 100% sure. Other than those two things though, I'm really happy. Like I said, the pants, they're really nice and lightweight. I am going to get some good wear out of these. The other thing is, I love the style. I'd forgotten how much I love this kind of cut of pants, because they're really flattering. They really are. I have spent the past few years now wearing skinny jeans because that's basically all that's been available in the shops, and they look so bad on me. These, they look really, really nice. I can see why throughout like the early 2000s and mid 2000s I wore pants like this. So these are definitely going to be a favourite in my wardrobe. The hoodie, perhaps not great for a day like today, but in the autumn and the winter it is going to be fabulous. It's so nice and cozy, and I cannot wait to be all snuggled up in it. Thank you very much for watching. As always, thank you to Elaine for supporting me on Ko-fi. It is so, so appreciated. Anybody who supports me on Ko-fi, it goes directly into my channel. It goes towards fabric, it goes towards cotton, stuff like that. So thank you very much. It is really, really appreciated. Also, if you like to have a chat, if you like memes, if you like silly pictures, stuff like that, I do have a Discord. The link to that is going to be in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. YouTube is suggesting that you might like this video right here next, and I will see you next time. Bye!